Well, hello, my lovelies. It's Murky Meg here. It's Tuesday, the 12th of July, and I'm back. I'm really sorry. I've been very, very poorly. I've had quite a serious infection, and I needed to completely remove myself and take some time away. But boy, oh boy, have I come back at about the right time. If you haven't heard already, Harry has been secretly working on a memoir for the last year. That's right, he's writing a biography. News broke last night that the publisher's Penguin Random House had picked up the book deal, and it's going to be ghost written by a highly esteemed author, J.R. Moehringer. They tweeted yesterday, that is Random House, that is, with the most hilarious quote I have probably ever heard come out of Harry's mouth. I assume it came out of Harry's mouth, but it could very well come out of Meghan's mouth. It's so bonkers. It says, I'm writing this not as the prince I was born, but as the man I have become. I find it hugely ironic that this quote also uses his full title, Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex. Does he just not get it? I'm going to be writing it as a man, but I'm still going to be using my title. Now, there has been massive cries that this should be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and that the Queen should strip them of their titles in full glory. Whether or not that happens, who knows? I think it all depends on what the book actually says. In a statement by Random House, it says Random House is honoured to announce the forthcoming memoir by Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, to be published globally in late 2022. In an intimate and heartfelt memoir from one of the most fascinating and influential global figures of our time. Yes, it really does say that. Prince Harry will share for the very first time the definitive account of those experiences, adventures, losses, and life lessons that have helped shape him, covering his lifetime in the public eye from childhood to present day, including his dedication to service, military duty that took twice to the front lines of Afghanistan, and the joys he has found in being a husband and a father. Prince Harry will offer an honest and captivating personal portrait, one that shows readers that behind everything they think they know lies an inspiring, courageous, and an uplifting human story. What a load of rubbish. The issues that I have with this at the moment, and I'm sure there'll be many other issues, is that and with his wife, is so obsessed with privacy that he's willing to literally open himself up and let the whole world in. And I want to ask the question, why? Why is he doing this? They went on Oprah. That obviously wasn't good enough. So now he's writing a book about his life. It's going to be dull as dishwater. I'm sorry, but the only people that are really going to be buying it are his diehard fans, or her diehard fans, their diehard fans, and people that are rubbernecking. You know, rubbernecking, it's just, you shouldn't look at something, but you just can't help it because it's just too good. And the media has gone crazy, and not in a positive way. In fact, the Australian morning show hosts have mocked him by saying that he wrote his supposedly $20 million advanced book. Yes, that's right. He received allegedly $20 million advance, and I'll talk about that in a little bit later on. But he wrote it not as a prince before signing off with his royal title. Who in their right mind does that? I'm not writing this as a prince, but oh, by the way, I am a prince. Yeah, and don't forget it, by the way. I think Piers Morgan summed it up beautifully. He says that Harry's turned the Queen's motto of never complain and never explain into always complain, always explain. Because that's it. Does he ever shut up? I mean, there's going to come a point where, or have we reached that point, where he's got nothing else to offer? I think at this point, the only thing new that he has to offer is the name that he failed to give Oprah. But can you imagine if he names that person in this book? It will be an instant sellout because everybody will want to know it, or they'll just go on the media and find out anyway. But That's really going to tick Oprah off, isn't it? If she didn't get the scoop, but his publishers did, gosh, there could be a fight in Montecito, couldn't there? And also, people are asking, is it going to be his truth, the truth, or Meghan's truth? Because those three are very, very different. Now, Prince Harry, again, using his status, released the statement, "I'm writing this not as a prince I was born, but as the man I have become. I have worn many hats over the years, both literally and figuratively. And my hope is that in telling my story, the highs and lows, the mistakes, the lessons learned, I can help show that no matter where we come from, we have more in common than we think. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to share what I've learned over the course of my life so far, and excited for people to read a first-hand account of my life that is accurate and wholly true." Now, the issue here is wholly true, isn't it? Because, quite frankly, Harry, you haven't been wholly truthful in the past, have you? And the fact that you have to actually mention in your press release that it's going to be wholly true kind of reeks of the deceit and lies that you've told in the past. Apparently, the royal family were not told in advance that this book was in the works or that the announcement was coming. And apparently, Harry had to scramble and contact the family to let them know before it was announced. Now, there seems to be a bit of discrepancy between what's happened. Rumour has it that Page 6 had the scoop and that they were going to run the story, so that Random House released the press release before Page 6 could get the scoop. And apparently they only found out moments before it went public. I mean, that's pretty shocking, but we're not really surprised, are we? Because Harry, in his past behaviour, has behaved pretty shoddily, hasn't he? It also says that the proceeds are going to charity. Now, the devil's in the detail. The financial aspects have not been released. All that's been said is the proceeds will go to charity. Now, it's been alleged that Harry has received around about $20 million advance for this book. That's not proceeds, that's an advance. Is that going to charity? Also, no charity has been mentioned. So everybody's assuming, and again, it's an assumption, that the charity will be Archewell. Well, we all know that this is based on the Clinton Foundation and that they have very dodgy tax breaks and that technically only 5% of anything donated to said companies actually goes to charitable endeavours and they just pocket the rest as expenses. So I'd like to know whether or not the advance is classed as proceeds or it's gone straight to Harry's pocket. Of course, Meg's as well, because him and her, she gets everything. Me, myself and I. It's intriguing to hear him mentioning that he is going to tell about his journey. What journey exactly? How you were born a prince with a silver spoon in your mouth and that you've literally wanted for nothing in your life. You were given everything you wanted. You had every resource at your feet and yet just wasn't good enough. Is that the journey you mean? What about when you yourself, Harry, were racist? There have been 3 incidences where you have been racist. Are you going to discuss that in your memoirs? I don't think you are you? Is this just going to be one big victim-fist book? Because that's what I foresee. It's going to be blame, it's going to be revenge, and it's going to be poor little me. Look who's the victim, it's me. That's all it's going to be. It's not going to be uplifting. I mean, if the Oprah interview is anything to go by, he's going to go guns blazing, really. And at what point do we say enough is enough? Then there's the issue of the christening. Now, media have been reporting that Harry and Meghan want Lilibet to be christened at Windsor, the same as Archie. And that in itself is rather tricky because, they've left. That would mean coming back to the UK. Well, Harry gets triggered with coming back, doesn't he? Blah, 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 blah. But a lot of people are saying, no, I'm sorry, you've left the royal fold. You can't do that. And there's been some comparisons or some questions being raised at why this has been released. Who spoke out? Who told Page 6? Because Page 6 have been getting a lot of scoops recently. They seem to be the one that's getting all the Harry and Meghan scoops. So I rather think that they scooped it themselves because this christening thing. Now, There is a very popular Instagram account called Memoir. They posted yesterday that, like I told you, Harry and Meghan really want that christening in Windsor, and that's why they were laying low, not saying anything to the press about the statue unveiling and keeping to themselves and focusing on baby Lily. The firm hasn't really said whether the christening will go or not, but it's unlikely, with just over a month until September, that they have hinted that other royal babies born this year won't have royal christenings. And if the firm doesn't protect Harry and Meghan, they won't protect them back. This announcement is no coincidence, just like how the Oprah interview news was leaked when the British royal family said they would take away the military titles and patronages. It doesn't have to do with the Platinum Jubilee. Harry and Meghan know they will be invited no matter what. Family is family. But it's not an issue for them that the book will be released after the celebrations. That's all. It's very interesting that the timing of these news swirling around about the christening and whether or not they will go ahead, very doubtful now, I'd like to believe. And then this big news that Harry's doing a tell-all memoir. Scooby's got his pants in a twist saying, we don't know whether it's going to be in it, we don't know what's going to be in it. Shut up, Scooby, sit down, be quiet, because you're a laughing stock. So this leak was no accident. It was put out there to kind of tit for tat about the no christening. There's also rumours circulating that Random House only agreed to publishing Meghan's book because they wanted to secure Harry. So maybe it was a do-for-one deal. I won't do my memoir until my wife has a children's book. I do find it laughable that the Sugars are now screaming that The Bench is a worldwide bestseller. Come on. It literally only sold just over 3,000 copies worldwide in its first week. That is not a bestseller. Will this book backfire in their faces spectacularly? A bit like the Oprah interview. There's only a few people that are now believing everything that came out of Harry and Meghan's mouth with regards to the Oprah interview, because so much has been debunked. And if you haven't seen the video I did, I've put a link in the top right hand corner. This was the video I went through and broke it down of all the lies. And since then, some lies have even been confirmed to be, come out even more. We've got Finding Freedom was supposed to be their side of the story. And if you remember that during Meghan's court case with the Mail on Sunday, her legal representative, Miss Afia, said about Finding Freedom that the book's intimate anecdotes are either extremely anodyne and or, I understand, one of a product of creative license and or are inaccurate. That is their legal representative saying that Finding Freedom is a load of boo hockey. So what will happen? What will the book entail? What will it say that we haven't heard before? Will it really go in, warts and all? Is this part of Harry's so-called therapy? Because, quite frankly, everybody's getting a bit tired of it, to be perfectly honest. I've looked on Twitter, not just in my little echo chamber of Twitter, but I have ventured out and to see what the majority of the people are talking about it. And a lot of people are just thinking, oh, here we go again. Will he just ever not shut up? And a lot of people are making the analysis or the connection between him and Meghan leaving the royal family and making it very, very clear that they wanted privacy. They didn't want to be under the bubble, under the scrutiny, yet this is exactly what he's doing. And I find it rather hypocritical that someone that was so hell-bent on privacy is willing to blast his life open, warts and all. Will he talk about private things within the royal family? Will he talk about what happened? Personal issues, family dynamics. And if so, I think he's treading a very fine line, because Harry and Meghan are very well known to make their staff sign NDAs. Well, surely the same applies to Harry with the royal family, doesn't it? He's just literally opening up the wounds again over and over and over. And everybody's getting fed up and they just want it to stop. Saturation is a thing. You can get saturated with a person. It's one of the reasons why I sometimes have to take long periods away, because it gets so ingrained in your mental health that you just think, I can't deal with it anymore because it's the same thing over and over and over again with these two. Are they not bored of it by now? What's the motive? I think there's only two motives in my mind: revenge and money. I'd also just like to point out that if this memoir contains any private information about the dynamics, about the friendships, about the family, about anything to do with the royal family that's not public knowledge, then that makes Harry no different than what they're saying Thomas Markle is. Thomas Markle has been shunned by the pair because of what he did. He regrets it now. He said sorry, but yet they're still completely stonewalling him. So does that give the royal family the right to do exactly the same to Harry and Meghan? They won't see it that way, will they? Because they're hypocrites. But I want to know what his endgame is. What do you think his endgame is? What has he got to achieve by doing this, apart from money, which he says is going to be donated? That makes no sense. Why do it in the first place? Why, if you're such a private person, you've been so adamant about your privacy, would you open up yourself so much to be analysed and ridiculed and it broken down bit by bit? Because it will do. It will be all over the media worldwide. Perhaps that's what he wants. People will be lapping it up. I'm sorry to say, but they will. People love to gossip. They like to hear about little tidbits that you shouldn't really hear about or you don't normally get to hear about. It's human nature to gossip. And then flip the coin and say, well, why is he doing it? What's his endgame? And I think it simply boils down to revenge, money, and he's simply got nothing else to offer the world. He's a one-trick pony, and his only claim to fame, his notoriety, his infamy, is being a member of the British royal family. The fact that he left and what he can say about that. That's the only interesting thing about him. This will alienate his family even more. If the bridges aren't completely burned down by now, they will be smouldering to the ground when the book is released. I can guarantee that. It's the only thing he has of monetary value to offer to anybody is singing for his supper. And news has just broken that Prince Harry's spokesperson has released a statement saying that he doesn't need the Queen's permission to write the 20 million Mexit memoir. A spokesperson for Prince Harry told the BBC that Harry would not be expected to obtain permission for the project from Buckingham Palace, but told his family, including the Queen, very recently. Notice there's no specifics, is there? It's just very recently. Well, what's very recently? Before it dropped? Before the news got released? Or slightly before? Or months before? Because it's been in the pipeline for a year. You've had adequate time to tell them. But again, it's all dishonesty, isn't it? Can you imagine how the Queen, Prince Charles and William are feeling right now? It's just starting over again. Will it ever end? Will he always just keep harping on about the royal family that he claims was so abusive towards him? I don't think he ever will, you know. So I would love to know your thoughts on this matter. What do you think about the book deal? Do you think it's going to be an amazing book? Do you think that it will be a bestseller? Do you think that, yes, it will be a bestseller, but for all the wrong reasons? What do you think about this mysterious leak that Page 6 were going to drop it and then Random House just suddenly went, oh, by the way, we've got a book coming out? Do you think it was curious timing because they're not going to get a christening? Or do you just think it was complete coincidence? What about the money? Is it going to be all to charity or just some to charity? Do you think that it will be funneled through Archwell? And finally, what do you think that the Queen, Prince Charles and Prince William are feeling right now? I'd really love to be a fly on the wall just to see their reactions and their plan of course. What are they going to do? Will this be the straw that breaks the camel's back and they're stripped of their titles? I don't think so, but you never know. One can hope. As always, let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell and also that like button. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of my followers for all the tips and all the emails, DMs that everybody sends to me. It really is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching once again.